Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the recent move that Bitcoin has had and touching up on my last analysis that I had, talking about why I believe that this was actually a breakout. And even though Bitcoin is sold off, we are seeing a massive buyback today. Bitcoin's up over 5%, the dollar is selling off, and we're seeing altcoins rebounding prior resistance levels now acting as support. Is this finally going to be the point where we're able to break out of 30K, or is this ultimately going to prove to be too great of a resistance before we start falling back even lower into this cycle? I'm going to break down exactly where I think the price of Bitcoin is headed so that we can all look to make the most profit forward when this next move takes place. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, now here we are to start off today's video. We're going to touch up on some of that last analysis that we had because this is really pretty much the same thing that I've been talking about. Now, there's one thing that has changed. There's a little bit of a differing point from my last analysis, but it's not big enough that we're going to worry too much about it, but I will break that down. Now, what we've been talking about is the potential where this consolidation up here is going to end up playing it out in a similar way as the current consolidation that we're in right now. Now, what we saw all the way back when Bitcoin broke out of 10,000, went to 12.5 thousand, and then pulled back onto $10,000 of support, that was the leg that we saw before we ultimately went in new all-time highs. And the consolidation looks a lot like what we're seeing today with Bitcoin. It's roughly the same sort of consolidation all the way through. The only real difference here is the fact that we did get a little bit of a deeper pullback inside of this most recent move right here. But that was the only difference that we saw. When we went through the same sort of contracting consolidation, it was roughly the same stuff that we went through, just barely. That led to a breakout. This was almost a false breakout, so to speak. And I wouldn't say a false breakout, but it caught a lot of people off guard. We kind of broke out, made this head and shoulder top before falling back down and retesting that as support before going up. And we did the same thing. The only difference here is we pulled back all the way back down to the support range, back down in here. And so that's the only main difference between these two consolidations. This one held a little bit higher. And so if we would have saw them play out in a similar way, we would have expected to see the price hold somewhere around 28,500, which is what I was talking about in my last video. So even though we have sold back all the way back down to support, we went a little bit lower than I was anticipating. The fact that we saw such a big breakout to the upside tells me that this isn't quite something to be too worried about. If we're unable to break out and hold support above these range highs being about 28,400, right about here, if we're unable to hold support above these, then at that point, yes, we're going to be looking at this to be falling back down and making another leg lower, potentially going back down to $25,000. But as it stands, we've seen such a large breakout off of this support and resistance flip. And so while we're continuing up like this, if we continue to see a breakout higher, then that just ultimately adds to the bullish case. If we see price sell off, as long as we hold support above this range, we're going to continue to expect to see a continuation from that. So nothing has changed. The only difference was we did get a little bit of a deeper correction. We came all the way back down to pretty much retest the low point of our triangle consolidation. We held a little bit better support in the outline that I was drawing, but it doesn't really change anything. We still talked about the potential where this could drop, come all the way back down to these range lows, and still be bullish. But the only way for that scenario to play out is if we continue to see a strong reaction like we have, and if we do pull back, we have to absolutely see this support hold. If we're unable, then we would be looking for a drop up downwards of about 25,000. What we were talking about in the total market cap was pretty much the same analysis. What we know is that we've been flirting with this resistance at 30K. This is our most important resistance. If we come all the way back over here and look at Bitcoin on a weekly time frame, this is basically that 29 to 30K level that we spent so much time in the bull and bear market consolidating on. So the second that we confirm a breakout and get our next leg up, in my opinion, it's going to be a much bigger and quicker type of blow off top that would resemble kind of like this leg up in 2019. And that's what all of these charts are telling us as well. This is a 300-day range. We weren't able to, I wouldn't say true confirmation of a breakout because of the fact we broke out and then we came all the way back down to retest the support. The fact that we're getting this buyback leads me to believe that most likely this can play out in a bullish way as the direction has already been playing out up to this point. So as long as we're actually able to hold this entire range as support, then at that point we would be looking for continuation. And that's kind of the next level of demand. If we can break out of this, truly get confirmation outside of this 300-day resistance, I believe that that's going to set us in for a very quick and sudden move that's going to catch a lot of people off guard. And so even though we have seen kind of this whipsaw price action in here, it doesn't really change anything. I'm kind of sticking to the same analysis. You know, we really just broke out and then came back down to the breakout point, and now we're in between the mid-range point. So the market has done more or less nothing. It went like this. And that's basically where we're at. So we don't have any confirmation. We just need to see how the market's going to hold around this resistance level. If we start getting rejected, the market starts showing a lot of weakness, then yeah, we would be looking for a deeper move to the downside. And it could look something like this. This could be an ABC before we kind of make one more deeper correction back down, get fairly close to, you know, the last sell-off that we just recently made before kind of bouncing back up. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that, but that's assuming that this resistance ends up holding and then we end up falling for one more leg lower. But that's the total market cap, and to me that's just what it looks like to be the most obvious support level. Really 1 trillion, I would say, which would be about right here. That would be our first area of demand inside of this consolidation. That would take us all the way over to these range highs over here from September to November, even throughout this consolidation from January to February. And so that would be the first area of demand. If we weren't able to hold that rejected, then I would be looking for one drop downwards of about 940 billion. So this is what I'm watching for in the short term. Regardless, for me, I think that this is going to hold support. I'm sticking to the same analysis. Nothing has changed that much. If we come over here and look at the altcoins, this is where we do get a little bit of a deviation. Notice how this is the pattern that I was drawing, where we ultimately were going to hold this level as support like what we did in the last cycle. Now, obviously, we didn't do that. We came all the way back down. We sold off much deeper. We came and retested all the way back down at $580 billion. And so now that we're down at this level, we're still below resistance. Altcoins have definitely not have any kind of confirmation. The total market cap with Bitcoin has more confirmation, but even Bitcoin doesn't have anything confirmed yet. Bitcoin has to hold the breakout point that we're at right now. And with the altcoins, they're in an even harder situation. You know, they're trending below all resistance. They're below the resistance, you know, back inside of this same mid-range point. And so if we continue to see a rejection here, altcoins themselves could actually make a deeper correction even if Bitcoin trends up. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that kind of happen, but that's more unlikely. Generally, altcoins are going to gravitate to the direction Bitcoin goes. And so as you guys can see, altcoins have rebounded even though they're inside of this, even though they're back into resistance of the mid-range point. If Bitcoin breaks out of its range high and does something like this, then the altcoins are going to follow suit. So whatever Bitcoin does, altcoins are going to follow. They are back below resistance, so we're going to make this red. And I'm just going to remind you guys that altcoins are in a little bit of murkier waters. The total market cap itself looks like it could be at a point of breaking out and holding support, and Bitcoin also kind of looks like that. But it's all pretty much reliant upon Bitcoin. Bitcoin in the shorter time frames looks bullish. We look really solid. We're having a nice buyback. Everything that we needed to see from this support and resistance flip has played out. We saw a big breakout. We're seeing more continuation. Don't be surprised if we run up and make some type of a pullback and then we come back down into this mid-range point like I talked about. I won't be surprised to see something like that. And then that's really where we're going to get confirmation from the total market cap. That's where we're going to get confirmation in the altcoins. Altcoins are going to be a little bit hairy until Bitcoin probably breaks out of the range highs. That's just my guess. And that's the way that I'm going to be playing the market. Now, the S&P 500 looks pretty bullish so far. The big thing that I've been watching for was the fact that this resistance right here was unable to actually hold, and then we ended up getting this correction. But in my opinion, once we actually get confirmation above this, and then that's where we can get that next leg up. In my opinion, that's going to be the point where we start to see the S&P 500 really heating up. S&P 500 is going to 4,300, which would basically be right here. And then we can even run all the way up here to about 4,600 at our next resistance. And so that's kind of where I think that once we do get out of these resistance levels that we've been at, notice how we've consolidated here a number of times, here a number of times. Now we're right there once again. Once we get a confirmed breakout above here, I think that the next leg up will happen a lot quicker than people realize, and that's kind of what's factoring into with what we're seeing with Bitcoin. With Bitcoin, we're right here at this $30,000 level. If we get confirmation outside of this as support, then at that point, our final leg up should happen pretty quick. And so if all of our charts are kind of telling us, I think that we should have that in the back of our heads to at least be aware of that, where if we truly hold support, if we truly get a next breakout in the cycle, it'll probably happen a lot quicker than people are expecting. Now, the dollar is once again sitting down here as support. We had a pretty massive sell-off to open the day, but we did get but the market did buy that dip back up, and so we don't have any confirmation. Regardless, the dollar's been consolidating at this range low for a while now. We retested it the other day, April 13th. We bounced. We're pretty much retesting it once again. And so I don't know what's going to happen with the dollar. As it stands right now, I really wouldn't be surprised to see this support hold. This is the support that I've been watching. We had a target of 105.5. We perfectly came back up to fill that target. So now that we're seeing downside continuation, the question is, if this support breaks, then we would expect to see one more drop. Our next target's going to be 97.5. However, if this support holds, we could be looking at a much deeper move, where we could be making a run upwards of 108 and maybe even 109, depending on how large that breakout happens. I don't think it changes anything. What I would be looking at this entire move as is a big picture ABC before this ultimately resolves in continuation to the downside. Because I believe that this cycle is over for the dollar. I believe that this is a decade cycle, right? Because this bottomed in 2008. So we've been running over here for over a decade that we've been trending up for the dollar. I believe that this is a top on a multi-year trend, right? A decade-year-long trend. That any sort of bounce that comes in here will ultimately result in further continuation of the downside. Whether the dollar bounces all the way back up here or whether the dollar ultimately just gets one more leg down, I don't think it really changes a whole lot. For Bitcoin, Bitcoin is going to be at this 30K level. If the dollar holds support down in here, then at that point we could be looking at Bitcoin actually topping. Maybe the 30K level is unable to break. Maybe we're not able to actually get upwards of 45, maybe even upwards of $50,000, and then we go through a deeper and more elongated correction. That could be a period where we see the dollar actually bounce to the upside. So it's important that we're factoring all of this in. The SPX to me looks pretty bullish. If we get above this range high, I think that we're due for a pretty decent sized breakout. If the S&P 500 makes a decent breakout like this, Bitcoin's going to finish its type of blow off top to begin this new cycle. The dollar would most likely fall for one more low. But you know, guys, anything can happen with the dollar. Just because, you know, the dollar is kind of anti-correlated with Bitcoin and the S&P 500 doesn't mean that the S&P 500 can't make a big breakout and the dollar can't just kind of meander in these sort of ranges. Generally, the dollar will make a big sell-off if the S&P 500 or Bitcoin will, but it's just something to keep in note of. There's not some perfect index that always is going to play out in this exact way. These are just things that we watch. They're tools that we wait for confirmation in the trend. With the DXY at range support, with Bitcoin kind of making this big breakout, I think that the potential of us making that next leg up is equally there as it's ever been. I'm still sticking to the same analysis. Nothing has changed for me. I just wanted to give you guys this quick little update to summarize some of those thoughts. I took a little break. I spent some time with family. A lot of family was out from different places, so I just wanted to spend a lot of time with them. So that's kind of why I've been absent. But now that I'm back, expect the same sort of frequent uploads. Regardless, guys, wanted to touch up on that final analysis that I made in my last video to more or less just give you guys an idea around what my trading plan is and how I'm looking at the market. Still playing the same direction, nothing changes. If you guys found value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. If you guys want to join my Discord server, download my free ebook, sign up for my signals, follow any trades that I take, all of that stuff gets posted in the Discord. You guys can go ahead and check that out. Links are in the description. Whether you sign up for my VIP, follow the trades, or whether you download the free ebook, there's all tons of value there to provide for you guys. Just go ahead and check it out. A lot of it's free. A lot of free videos on the channel. You know, we covered a lot of stuff inside of my last few updates, and so if you guys have kind of been wondering, go back and watch some of those prior updates. Go see a little bit more about what I've been covering. So far up to this point, we did get a deeper correction, but the buyback tells me that, you know, we're going to continue to stick to that same analysis until we get a deeper pullback and this resistance turns out to be too great. That's my plan. That's what I'm sticking to. So anyways, guys, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.